Cost per lead in solar and battery marketing here in the UK doesn't matter. In my humble opinion, without a whole bunch of context, it means bunch of other numbers that are way more important in my opinion. But let's break that down. What are those numbers? What numbers should you be keeping a close eye on when you're running paid ads, for example, to generate more leads for solar and battery installs? So, firstly, what do I mean by cost per lead doesn't mean much without context? Let's actually look at an example. So, good old cost per lead, let's provide that context. So let's say, for example, we're running an ads campaign on everyone's favourite platform, Facebook. And this campaign is producing a lead for every £10 in marketing spend, so it's on fire. Now the challenge is that only 1 in 20 of those leads, 1 in 20 is producing a quote or an in-home survey. Now, what does that mean? Well, firstly, it means that we are paying £200 for an opportunity to pitch or for a survey, which is very expensive. And let's say, for example, we're managing to close 1 in 4 sits into a sale. That means that our cost per acquisition, or our CPA, is actually going to be £800, which is very expensive. If we're closing 1 in 5, for example, then that means that our cost per acquisition is actually £1,000, which again is very expensive. If, however, we use the same example, but instead of £10 leads, we are producing a lead for every £50 in spend. Wow, 5 times more expensive. We better get that changed. However, the further context on this occasion is instead of producing or converting 1 in 20 into a quote or a survey, this time, because we've focused a whole bunch on quality, we've maybe got some video ads, some landing pages in place, we're actually converting 1 in 2 of those leads into an in-home survey, which is pretty conservative. If you're running video ads to a landing page, most of our portfolio now is in that 70 to 80% range. But let's be, nice and cautious. We'll work it out at 1 in 2. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we're getting a whole bunch more quotes / surveys. And in terms of the actual numbers behind that, what have we done? Well, firstly, we have halved our survey cost to £100. There's also a whole lot less energy going in to produce a survey versus 1 in 20 up here. You're not banging your head off a brick wall. And then if we're still continuing to convert 1 in 4, for example, it means our CPA, our cost per acquisition, is £400. And if we're converting 1 in 5, then our CPA is £500. So this is a great example of where, on the face of it, the campaign is, in inverted commas, performing well. But when you start to look at what happens after the fact, actually that campaign is performing terribly, and some changes drastically need to be made. Versus this one, which again on the face of it is 5 times more expensive in terms of your lead cost, but that pull-through rate to quote, to survey, and even if the conversion remains the same, you're then acquiring a customer for £400 rather than £800, or £500 rather than £1,000. So not saying that cost per lead is not important, but as you've just seen, without context, it basically means jack shit. The other key metrics in summary that you really need to keep an eye on is cost per survey, or some people refer to that as cost per quote, i.e. how much are you spending to get in the door and have an opportunity to pitch your product or service. You ideally want to be getting that to be sub £100. And then from a cost per acquisition perspective, you ideally want to be acquiring customers, certainly in solar and battery, for sub £500. That's an internal KPI that we keep an eye on across all our portfolio of clients. And if we're not delivering new customers for any less than £500 for any reason, then there's action to be taken and improvement to be making across the account. That is why, in my humble opinion, cost per lead without a whole bunch of context means absolutely jack shit. So we need to stop obsessing over cost per lead. That is important. We want that to be as cheap as possible, of course. But if that pull-through rate to quote and survey, and ultimately that pull-through rate to acquiring customers, is weak, the only thing that cheap leads is producing is a headache for you every day. So yeah, hopefully that context helps. We'll be doing plenty more videos like this one, and I will see you in the next.